Welcome back to the Glacier Gamble podcast. This is episode God knows how much.
Marvels review.
The
We went and saw the
Marvels.
Marvels, the movie
We
that
did.
was on pace to make 46 million, and then after the opening weekend broke 120. It was on pace to do poorly, but people started seeing it and going, "Oh wait, this movie's actually good."
It's fun. It's fun.
You texted me last night or this morning saying the more you think about it, the more you like it.
Right.
I'm in the same boat. I really liked it when we were done, and the more I think about it, the more I like it. It was better than Captain Marvel 1. It was
Right.
better than the first Captain
Yeah.
Marvel, in my opinion.
Sure.
It was good, and I laughed a lot. I know
Yeah.
I'm a bit biased, but I laughed a lot during this movie.
Yeah. No, I
I
liked it. I thought there was a lot of parts that and granted it wasn't a perfect movie. Like we're not saying
no,
it's like Infinity War. But it was very good. I think if and you can't take Rotten Tomatoes numbers, but you could
people
pay
can pay for those.
right. But the audience score being a like 86% or 81%, I think that's about right. Like I think it's if you told me that the theater, which we probably had maybe 30, 40 people in there, if you told me that like 35 of those people would have liked it, I would have probably agreed with you. Thoroughly enjoyed it. I liked all three of the main cast, plus Nick Fury in his moments. And seeing these TV characters, one of those, like we talked about loose ends, the loose ends of these TV characters coming to like the big screen that hits home from like us doing these reviews of all these episodes of these TV shows. And it's finally coming to fruition, I guess. And seeing them all interact was
And even
very
like
cool.
Miss Marvel's parents and brother, their character consistencies carried over into the movie. Like her
Oh,
brother was still
100%.
very funny. Mom and dad were still the same type of character. It was they referenced the show, like talking about the growth that they've experienced as a family. I will say, so I agree. I liked Tiana Paris, Brie Larson, Iman Vellani all killed it. I will say Iman Vellani stole the show in my eyes.
Sure.
She was the one that made me laugh the hardest. Her family was like she had more people to support her in the role, I
Right.
guess.
The
But
acting consistency, like
and
the
acting
quality of her
consistency.
acting
There
throughout
were
the whole.
points in the movie where both Teyonah Paris and Iman Vellani made me go, God, I forget I'm watching a movie. Like they're
Right.
doing so well playing their characters that you forget like that's not them.
Right.
Like there was a point where my ADHD kicked in and I started thinking about what the actors do offset. Like, do they ever hang out? Like Iman Vellani's act, like if this is how she acted when she met Brie Larson and Teyonah Paris, that would have been hilarious.
Right.
But like, how do they act offset? And I started thinking about that. I'm like, that has nothing to do with it. She's just making you think about that because she's doing such a good job.
Right.
She absolutely killed it. I had a tweet that got slight traction that was about the Iman Vellani. And okay, I'm going to throw it out now. We usually do a pretty good job of no spoilers, but the final scene in the movie, if you will give you a second here, if you don't want to hear about it, spoiler alert,
The final scene of the movie before the mid-credit scene.
before the mid-credit
Okay.
scene. Okay, giving you enough time. If you haven't clicked away and you're still spoiled, I'm sorry. That's your fault now. Haley Steinfeld's Hawkeye shows up, and Iman Vellani's Miss Marvel says, like,
He has
hey,
her Nick Fury moment of
has
sitting in
her
the
Nick Fury,
shadows.
which
Yeah.
we've wanted. That's what we were talking about.
Right.
Like
Loose ends.
we
Right.
didn't think
Like.
it would be Iman Vellani's character doing it. We thought it would be somebody like either Nick Fury again or Yelena Belova.
Yeah. Kate
But
Bishop could have been the one too. Like Kate
yeah,
Bishop. Right.
absolutely. I'm totally fine if it's Iman. She is a star. She's so
Right.
good. When Haley Steinfeld and Iman Vellani are on the same screen, it's gonna
Yeah.
be hilarious. Like
Yeah. When I
distractingly, like Jake Gyllenhaal, Ryan Reynolds when they're talking to each other, it's gonna be like that level of
right
hilarity that you're gonna have to
when
try to keep up
when I
with.
saw when I saw that credit scene and it was like all I saw was like the shadow of the head and then I saw the skinny thing like the
The
skinny shadow.
bow.
I was like that's a bow and I was like no way.
Yeah.
I was like we're connecting this dot.
A lot of the early reviews from the critics about this movie were bad, but it was saying that it started okay and then the middle of the movie was really bad. This is what most of the critics were saying, by the way. This is not me. And then it got really bad, got boring, made some awkward choices. I know exactly what they're talking about when they say that. I think the singing planet was an
Yeah,
interesting choice.
that was
Um,
very weird to throw in there. I think it was a little bit of an homage to Brie Larson's singing career in her
Yeah.
past,
Well,
almost.
take
So
advantage of it while you can. Like,
right,
if you have Haley Steinfeld and Brie Larson, why not have them sing a little bit?
right.
There's nothing wrong with that. But then those same critic reviews said that at the end, the tie-ins to the other future MCU products is what carried the movie. It's not what carried the movie, but it definitely helped.
Yeah, it
The end
the
post-credit
final
scene.
scene and the
Oh,
mid-credit scene, just the hype, like it
yeah.
built a fire in me that I was like, oh hell yeah, like
Yep.
that's
Lots of people shifting in their seats when those scenes were happening.
yeah,
People were
yeah,
excited. Like, people were
yeah,
really excited. And I think it
yeah.
was because
It was exciting.
a
Yeah,
lot of people went into this movie with such low expectations that even if it was just average, you would have left saying, yeah, it was pretty good. But it was
right,
better than average. So
right,
you left going like, holy shit, that was so much
right.
better than I thought it was gonna be.
Yeah, and let me just say one thing: the fights. There was one fight scene where it was kind of hard to follow, and it was like right at the end almost,
Fighting the
like that.
villain.
Yeah, it was kind of a little bit. I was like, wait a second, let me connect the
That was
dots
the only
again.
fight I didn't like the choreography of
Yeah,
too.
because it was hard to follow who was who, but the fight scenes throughout the entire movie were badass. Like
Yeah.
they were
And really
like
well
they
done.
did the slow-mo at the perfect times. They didn't do too much slow-mo. And then just showing each individual's power set, I
Mhm.
think was awesome.
The final
Um
fight scene against the villain, and then one part during when they're inside Miss Marvel's family's house. I didn't like the choreography of how they had Photon fight a couple of the bad guys.
sure.
Other than those 2 points, I liked every other action
Right.
fight scene.
So yeah, I thought that was sick too.
They
Um
did really good. And some of the cinematic shots, they opened with a good one right away with Captain Marvel jumping out of her ship into
yeah.
space.
Oh yeah.
That's that cinematic shot. A couple other really cool
Like
cinematic
diving in
shots.
slow motion kind of, but
Yeah,
really
like,
she's just like floating in space. Yeah.
or when she's like staring out into the abyss, or like when Photon, like, just there's just so many like really cool shots where if you were at home, you could, and had like a massive screen like a movie theater, you could just pause and truly take in how cool the shots
Sure.
looked.
And I want in movies, I don't want the hero to like just flawlessly win. Like I
Agreed.
want them to get their ass kicked
Hmm.
because like and so there was one point, and if you look at the villain, you can see in the trailer she's got like a giant Ronin hammer almost,
Yeah,
and
the
she
multiversal
decks.
weapon, or the
Yeah,
the ultimate weapon.
yeah, something like that. If she has the other bangle, which absorbs Captain Marvel's power, absorbs a lot of different energy power, light source
Hmm.
powers. Captain Marvel is probably the strongest one. She's got the strongest, out of the
Bursts
three.
of
She's got
energy.
right. So she's sitting there zapping her or whatever, and then the girl just freaking swings and drills her. This is at the singing planet, and she just goes and just gets like into the
Absolutely
side of a
annihilated.
mountain. And
Yeah.
I was like, she's gonna get up from that, obviously, because she's Captain Marvel. But like, that's what I want to see is
I
like
want to
them
see
just
my
get
heroes get
clobbered.
slaughtered. Well, and like
Yeah,
a bunch of Skrulls died. There was a lot of collateral damage, and two
yeah, that was
planets were like, that water was still on Hala at the end. So Adaladan or whatever,
uh, uh,
Adladon, that planet is still,
Aldana is something like that, maybe. Yeah,
in theory, like with that with the amount of
I
water that
mean,
was there, that water's all gone from that planet, I'm
right.
guessing.
So I'm guessing they're still alive, obviously. Like obviously some people died just because of whatever, but like their whole way of life is changing. And so they
Yeah.
gotta
Or they're gonna have to find a new planet.
right. Yeah.
Because
Again, like the Skrulls. Like the Skrulls is getting screwed through this whole entire thing. But
so the villain got to win at least twice in this movie,
right.
as
Yeah.
well as the little victories, like absolutely clobbering a couple of. The only person
Yeah.
that didn't get like violently beat up was Miss Marvel.
Yeah.
She was the only one through the whole movie. There was multiple times like she was about to get destroyed, and somebody always stepped in.
Yeah. Or they
Always.
switched. They entangled,
And I
switched.
think that was on purpose, because Iman Vellani, she may be like 21 or something. I think she's 21 years old.
Right. But she's a 16-year-old in the show.
And she looks it. She looks
Right.
young. And
Right.
watching her get slammed with that hammer would make me
Oh
feel
yeah.
much more different.
Yeah.
Like, I'd be like, oh no. Like,
Yeah.
I don't want to
Oh
see
yeah, if
that.
she got blasted and hit the wall, like with Captain Marvel, that she's gonna be all right. Like
Hmm.
she's probably like got the wind knocked out of her, but like
And Monica Rambeau could probably, or Captain Rambeau can go through the wall.
right,
She'll make herself okay.
right, yeah, she can change her light mat or like her matter, her particle light particles or whatever. So like
Basically
Yeah, she's
making
very
herself invisible
Vision-esque. She's very Vision-esque.
/ Ghost.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
For her, like, I mean, it's cool. That's
And they
cool. Like
never
she's
settled on the name Photon either.
right, right. But they did show like Maria Rambeau's like in her ship, and it had photon on it. Like it
Yes.
had photon on it.
I
So
did have one thing I was slightly confused. So is her brother and family moving into Captain
no,
Rambeau's
I think it's
house?
Carol's. I think it's Carol Danvers' house. I think she's moving there.
Do you think she's letting her family stay there? Because the mom said this would be a great place to raise a family to their son. I think she's letting her family move in probably while their house is getting fixed or something.
I don't know because there's Carol bringing in two giant boxes, and one of them says Goose snacks, and the other says Carol
Oh,
snacks.
gotcha.
So
Also, I noticed I did look because I'm a big sponsor guy. Like I try to
sure,
spot the sponsor. I used to play, it's kind of stupid. I don't drink anymore, but in college we played a drinking game called Spot the Sponsor. And when we'd have the guys come over, we'd watch movies, and then we'd all like take a shot every sponsor you saw in a movie. So if you watched a Michael Bay movie, that was everybody like admitting we're all gonna get destroyed.
right.
Um like, you ever heard of the movie The Island with Ewan McGregor? Don't play that game with that movie. Don't. There's like 46 sponsors. It's awful. But in this movie, I was looking at the U-Haul boxes. All of
Okay,
them had tape over the middle of the word, so you never saw the actual full.
sure,
Not a single box had the word U-Haul, so I don't think U-Haul was a sponsor. It was
got it.
obvious that that was the box they're using, but they covered that logo on all of them. So either
Sure,
U-Haul didn't pay enough, or they didn't use U-Haul. They just
sure,
did the trick of covering it with filming tape.
sure.
The goose eggs was highly.
You
I
called
want to
that.
talk about the
Yeah.
couple things I didn't like about the movie. The goose eggs was highly as soon as Miss Marvel's mom said, "I think you're overfeeding the cat," and they're acting funny, I was like, okay, he's pregnant. Goose is
Right.
pregnant. She pregnant.
Right. I don't know I don't know the sex. How
They
many
them. Goose is they.
right.
So Goose had
Of a
eggs.
flirkin. I don't know.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't
Yeah.
know how to sex a flirkin.
Right.
And don't
Someone
Google
does.
how to
Some
sex
other
a cat, by
flirkin.
the way.
Yeah.
Don't Google how to sex a cat. Goose had a bunch of eggs. That scene was great. It
It
was
was. It
highly
was
predictable
very
that he was pregnant,
comical. Yeah.
but it was the kitten, all these adorable little kittens.
Everyone's sprinting for their life. A little cat.
It was like Jurassic Park when they're getting hunted by raptors, but it's
Yeah.
these little kittens.
Right. And then Iman Vellani, the best part when she was holding the cat, she was like cocking it. She was like,
Yeah. And she was like, I'm sorry. She was like running around like, I'm sorry.
right. And
It
then the
was
one girl
good.
gets away and she turns around and looks and there's no cat. But then when she turns back, it's like Goose with one of the babies.
Just like
Just sitting
Jurassic
there.
Park, like the
Yeah.
mom teaching the baby raptor how to hunt. It
Yeah.
was so good.
Yeah.
That scene, while it was a little campy, it did help the plot move forward because those kittens were needed in order for the one escape pod. I could imagine a couple of the people didn't ever get regurgitated. Just
Yeah.
saying.
Yeah.
It didn't look like that whole everybody was still
Yeah.
there. I think a
Right.
couple people got digested, which is
They got
explains
a
why
good
they.
amount on the few escape pods too. So we got to think it wasn't
Yes,
all on that one pod. But
right.
yeah. Yeah,
It
that's
was it
funny.
was it was good though. It wasn't something that like took away. I think the only part of the movie, continuing with the things I didn't like, I think this is really the only other part of the movie I didn't like. Outside of like the critics were correct. There was a forgetful villain or like a villain easy to forget. But the other thing I did, the singing planet, while it was a unique thing, obviously there's so many planets out there. There might be some weird life, like
Yeah.
something different.
I
But
thought it was funny. It was like, oh, he's bilingual. Like there's
that
they're
was
talking the whole time.
clever. But if you talk normally, you're still saying the same words. Like that would be like saying if you speak fluent Spanish, like "Donde está el baño?" Oh, I understood that, but if you that'd be like saying if I said it, "Donde está el baño?" Oh, now I don't understand it.
Right.
Like you're still
Sure.
saying those same
Right.
words, so they should be able to understand you. That was the one thing I was like, "Come on."
He did give Kamala Khan like her scarf is incredibly strong
Yeah,
now. Like it's like a whip almost, which is cool, but kind of unnecessary.
I like
She
it.
can
It
make
makes it.
light. She can make like light matter. Like why was she sitting there whipping people
Because she
when she's
wasn't
like,
supposed to use her light. They told her not to,
oh
otherwise
yeah,
they'd switch spots.
oh yeah, because then when they switched spots, she was like, where did you get that? Okay,
So
that
she
makes sense.
needed a weapon, and that was the weapon that they gave
Yeah,
her. And
right.
I think it's awesome because that's from the
Yeah,
comics too. Is like her thing in the comics
right.
also is
I
usable as a
didn't like
weapon.
her suit. If Marvel, since you're going to be watching this,
Always.
um, her suit is too flashy.
Oh,
It's
I
too
love it.
bright.
No,
Really, I thought it was
no.
too bright and flashy.
Nope. I
Like,
thought when you had Photon standing there in her awesome suit, loved it. And Miss Marvel standing there in her suit, super bright and full. I think Captain Marvel is the one that looked. Her suit is the one that looked like trash.
sure, I don't know. I don't know. I thought it was too bright and colorful, but then again, I'm looking at the comic version where it's just like very simple.
We also have like
You
4
know,
episodes
so
of our podcast where I'm screamed at the top of my lungs for like classic, colorful, bright costumes.
yeah,
Like Fantastic Four, I want bright blue. I didn't want Scarlet Witch to be like this muted, like mahogany color. I wanted her bright red.
yeah,
I don't want muted colors. I want bright,
right.
like
But
you're
her suit
dressed
is
up. You
still
might as
very
well be
big. Like her
flashy.
suit is very bright still. It's like bright red and bright blue and bright yellow, but it's this one's more like cosmic, I guess. They made her more cosmic, which I guess is
I
for
love
I
it,
don't know.
man. I love her
Sure.
costume so much. This Captain Marvel was the only one I was watching. I was like, these other two have such better costumes than you.
Right.
I mean,
You've
I mean,
seen it a million times before too, though, the
yeah.
Captain Marvel one comparatively.
The
So
white of photons was
yeah,
so clean. It was
right.
so good.
They did say Spectrum in there. Like Kamala did say Spectrum in there. I was like, are they gonna go with that
Yeah.
instead?
They
But
had a couple good names in there a little bit.
right.
I thought they might get to Photon, but Professor Marvel.
Nah, that's funny.
And then the next scene, it was like the Marvels. How is that already a thing? Like
Yeah,
it had some good, clever lines. It was
right.
good. Nick Fury. I saw somebody say that Nick Fury was the funniest part of the movie. There was a couple parts where he made like his obsession with
Oh yeah,
cats is
yeah,
hilarious.
yeah,
Like a Flurkin is the reason he has one eye, and yet he's
yeah.
still like, "Hello,
Right.
you." Like,
I
oh,
know. Right.
it was good. And then her Iman or Miss Marvel's reaction to seeing Nick Fury multiple times. She never stopped fangirling the
But
whole movie.
even the first time where she switches spots with Captain Marvel and she's right next to Goose, and then Goose goes meow and then just swallows 3 people. And she's like, ah!
It was probably the Marvel movie I've laughed at the hardest.
yeah,
I think the
yeah.
very first time a Marvel like the when I think of what's the first time a Marvel movie made me like laugh out loud when I watched it, I think of the first Avengers when Hulk is
Oh
destroying
yeah,
Loki.
sure. Yeah.
That's probably the first time I laughed really hard at a Marvel movie out loud. There was a couple points where I felt bad because like I was laughing and I know you weren't laughing next to me in the theater.
Oh yeah.
And I was like, I'm probably laughing so much it's annoying.
No,
But
no, it's fine because I was probably ear to ear smile most of the time too. Like it
it was
was
so
fun.
funny.
Yeah,
Yeah, it was a really, really fun movie. Like I used the words refreshing, fun, and I can't remember the other word, but like refreshing and fun. Like this movie was awesome. My wife doesn't like superhero movies. I think she'd enjoy it.
right. I
There are parts of
agree.
it like she won't care about the action scenes, but the cinematic shots, the story, even the singing, I think my wife would like all of that, and I think it would
Sure.
be very funny. She
Right.
even told me she didn't want any details regarding like the end and stuff because she thinks, but the way I'm talking about it, she wants to see it.
Sure.
So
Yeah.
I've it's awesome. I would say like 86% set on by fans means fans would give it like an 8.5 out of 10. For those of you that have watched our other movie reviews in the past, 8.5 out of 10 would be one of the highest that we would be given.
Right.
Um,
Shang-Chi
Shang-Chi
and
was
No
a
Way
9.
Home. Yeah, we're up
Yeah.
there at above nines.
Those are
So
the only ones we've given 9 or higher. Lowest one
everything
we've
else has
rated
been
was
like
Black Widow.
right.
Multiverse of Madness, we gave like a 7.
Yeah.
So would I say this is better than Multiverse of Madness? Because that'd be 8.5 would
Right.
be what the 86. I don't think I would give this an 8.5. Just that's a lot.
Sure.
But if you're telling me it's an 8, I have
Right.
no hesitation in saying
Yeah,
this
and
movie's
if
an
you're
8
telling
out
me
of
it's a
10.
7, I'd be like,
That's a little that's a little
right.
low.
Right.
So I
Yeah,
would
I
say it is
agree.
absolutely better than Multiverse of Madness was. And
Right.
it was definitely better than Quantumania.
Right. And if you want to say that if you want to say
Oh,
I don't want.
we gave Black Panther 2 like an 8.5.
Yeah, Black Panther 2 was worth it too. I don't want to like all the people that say that it was carried by the last, like the ending scene and the post credit scene. I don't want you to take this out of context, because if you were just to base the movie off the like the final scene and the post credit scene, it's probably really really close to a 10. Like they were, those last two things were that
For
good. But I'm
sure.
not saying the movie was a 6 to balance it at an 8. I'm not
We're
saying
also
that.
biased because we've been saying they're gonna do Young Avengers for like over a year now.
Right. Yeah. They've have all the pieces. They've got
Yeah.
all the pieces. They just gotta
So to
um
have something that we kind of feel close to, like a not necessarily a theory we came up with, but we've been on the Young Avengers hype train way before a lot of other
I
people.
mean it started with WandaVision.
Right.
Like it
Yeah.
started with WandaVision with Billy and Tommy, and like you got to age them up a little bit. And I think Billy's gonna be in Agatha House of Chaos, Coven, Darkhold of Madness, Harkness,
Yeah.
and I think Billy's gonna be in that. So I don't know, like that, like that's where it started, and it's like, oh, they might actually start doing this, and then like Cassie Lang, and then it just kind of went from there, and different little pieces to the puzzle have kind of came out. So like, yeah, it's good to see all those kind of mesh together.
Well,
So
we've talked about what like the general thing of the movie. Now that we're talking about the last scene and post credit, let's dig into those. The last scene we talked about creating the Young Avengers, who we know so far: Hawkeye, Kate Bishop,
right,
or not Kamala
Kamala
Khan's
Khan,
Miss Marvel. I do
Cassie
that all the time, by
Langs,
the way. So if
right,
anybody's watching this, sees future episodes, I'm gonna say Iman Vellani probably more often than I say Kamala Khan.
sure,
And
and
then
Cassie
Cassie
Lang's
Lang's
stature,
stature.
right,
Those are the three. So one thing my wife immediately goes is, "Oh, lady power." So we
yeah.
only have girls in the Young Avengers right now.
Um,
Expect more because I think
Billy for sure, because we know Billy's in it. I don't know. Well, we assume Billy's in it. They cast some dude, some guy that fits Billy. Like he fits Billy's role. He's also a gay actor, so like it fits Billy. It's probably Billy, and I
and we
don't
know
really know.
Fantastic Four is coming out soon, which Billy is connected to the Fantastic Four a lot in the
Right.
comics.
So you're gonna have Wiccan. I don't know about Tommy because I don't know if Tommy's necessarily in it. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of pieces
Well, and
too.
they've made a couple characters very parental. Doctor Strange, Yelena Belova have taken up immediate mentorship roles and done well. And I wouldn't be surprised to see Yelena be the behind the scenes leader, the Nick
Sure,
Fury for these Young Avengers. It just makes a lot of sense. Has a connection with Kate, has like a teaching young girls background already,
sure.
has a leader background. Like
Killed
she's
multiple people.
right.
Uh,
She's done both sides, so she
right,
knows what she would be a good teacher. I think
right,
having Yelena be the leader of the Young Avengers would not be a bad idea. And it's kind of cool they're seeing groups be made. Like we have
right,
the new Guardians of the Galaxy. We're gonna have the Young Avengers. We're gonna have the Fantastic Four, maybe whoever else, and then we're gonna have the X-Men most likely.
right,
So just like in Infinity War, we're gonna have groups that eventually like show up in little bits over time. Like, oh,
right,
here's Captain America's group. Oh, here's the original
right.
Avengers.
Yeah,
Here's Black Panther and Wakanda. And I think that we're gonna see those group probably get together in Secret War, and they'll be like the main focus of Secret Wars
sure.
as well
You
as
got
maybe
King.
some
Yeah,
other
you'll have
ones.
Kang Dynasty.
Yeah,
Kang
that's yeah,
Dynasty.
Kang
Yeah, right.
Dynasty.
Kang Dynasty first, and then you're gonna get probably some multiversal collapse, either multiversal collapse or
Have Kang
Secret Wars.
Dynasty beat all those groups combined. Have
Right,
Kang beat all those groups so that they need even more.
right.
That would be great.
Yes.
But speaking of X-Men,
Yeah, the post credit scene.
yeah.
So
Post
what
credits
happened at
scene,
the end is, spoiler alert: the villain gets Kamala Khan's bangle and her bangle, which are, I guess, quantum bands,
quantum bands.
name
Yep.
of them, and she hits them together. And she what she wants to do is pull resources to Hala. And so what she does is she cracks open
The home
another
of the Kree.
universe, the home of the Kree, yeah, right, that the Annihilator, that Captain Marvel destroyed.
Yeah.
And so she cracks open a whole nother universe to, I assume, pull those resources to Hala. That's how I
She
imagine
was
she was
trying to
doing it.
pull the sun T'Challa.
Valhalla. But then she did the bands and she cracked open a
It was too
reality.
much, and it killed
Right.
her.
It did.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's not coming back from that.
No, she was like her entire life force. You watched it like dissipate. But yeah, so she used both bands, split
Did
open,
the Wonder Woman X thing.
split open a thing that looked very similar to No Way Home when the
Right.
multiverse was ripped open in No
Yep.
Way
It
Home.
was in
Looked very similar
Hexagon.
to Loki.
Yeah.
There was a portion of Loki that had like a purple rip as well.
Right. Yeah, I
So
think that's what they
very
used for like
consistent,
multiversal. Yeah, but I think it's different because they were using the like wormholes, not the wormholes. They're like the gaps, the jump points. So
which
that's how she was creating jump points that weren't the usual jump point, and so it was like
that stayed
ripping.
open.
Right. So
And now
that's
Kamala
how.
has both bands.
Right.
Now Kamala's going to be extremely strong because she was able to shoot out of those bands. So
Right.
now Kamala's got more than just her light bending powers. She's got quantum bands of insane strength.
Right.
And then Photon gets blasted with those bands, and she gets blasted with
To
I
get
call her
as
Photon,
much.
Captain Rambeau, and then
Right.
Captain Marvel shoots her as well.
Right. To get as much light energy as possible into her, so she can repair
And
the
close,
the port the
but she had to do it from the
tear.
other side,
Right.
which was a super sad moment when Captain Marvel was trying to fly there, but I was like,
Right.
she's not making it.
Here's the thing too, though. I've seen Captain Marvel fly faster than that
Yep.
too. Like like she's like it's always like, and then she goes like, and then she's just gone. So I don't know. I think she could have got there, but
Yep.
for the
And
sake of the plot, for the
Captain
sake of the
Rambeau
plot,
says as it's closing, like I always knew I'd have to stay on this side. But when Captain Rambeau comes to in this mid-credit scene, she comes to in the hospital and sees her mom. But
right?
it's not her mom. Her mom is
It
playing
is
binary.
her mom, but she how I understand it is she never had a kid.
Right.
So
Yep.
she never had Monica. So she has no idea who this
Yeah,
is.
and she never also became she also I don't think ever had Captain Marvel as a friend because she wasn't
Right. Well,
she wasn't
so
Captain
I'm
Marvel
wondering.
like
So
in
like
Multiverse of Madness.
so yeah, so if so well they're like the same because that binary is another name for Captain Marvel. Like she goes when Captain Marvel goes all Super Saiyan, she's going binary.
Okay.
So like that I'm guessing that's the name they
So her
use for her.
X-Men possible name would be binary.
Yeah, but I don't think she's a mutant. I think she got blasted with the Tesseract and she's the Captain Marvel of this universe.
Sure. I just thought that
Um
the way she interacted with the X-Men that showed up.
right. But it could be like it could be like a like 838 kind of thing
Sure.
where like she because she would have found her out in space, right? Like
Mhm.
binary would have found Monica out in space because she's got the reading
She
and
was
she could
probably the
fly
one
out
that
there.
was sent to research the burst of energy.
Yeah, the terror or whatever that
Yeah.
happened, and she found Monica out there and brought her to Charles or whatever.
Mhm. And her reaction when she saw her mom was very realistic.
Right,
Like she was
right,
freaking out, not even trying to process what was happening in the situation. It
right,
wasn't until she told her like, "Who are you?" or whatever that she was like,
right,
then it kind of woke her up. But she was just locked in, like, "I'm so sorry, mom." I'm so, like all this
right,
stuff, like, oh, it was heavy for a moment
right.
there until
Yeah,
Beast walked in, and then I lost everything.
right. I saw the blue hand walk by.
Yeah,
I saw the blue hand, and I was like, "Wait a sec."
yeah, yeah. And then you
And then
hear
it
Kelsey
turns out,
Grammer's voice.
yeah, and they did it differently. Like they did the mocap very similar to Hulk, where like it's the face is still there and it's like the mocap around it rather than just like painting and adding hair to Kelsey
Yeah,
Grammer's face,
yeah.
which I like better because I think Kelsey Grammer's Beast in the original one was like obviously like 20 something years ago and it looks like not real. And then Nicholas Holt is almost like too skinny to be Beast,
He
I
is, yeah.
guess. So it's like both worlds, I guess. You get a good
But it
look.
was cool to
So
see that, like,
yeah,
even though it's not our universe, we're gonna see X-Men. When next
yeah,
time we
and
see Teyonah
well,
Paris, we're gonna see X-Men.
yeah, I always said that like it doesn't make sense, and we had this conversation. I was like, it doesn't make sense that the X-Men exist in our world because like where were they?
Mhm.
Where were they? Like Thanos is killing everyone, half the
Same with
universe, and you're just
Fantastic Four.
yeah. And yeah, like where's the Fantastic Four too? So the incursions are going to bring these universes to our universes, the one that has X-Men established, the one that has Fantastic Four established, and they're going to converge into one universe. That's how I get it. They're
No,
going to try not to destroy these universes, but it's going to merge into one. Hank McCoy Beast was like, you came from an adjacent universe, which is impossible.
impossible.
But,
But
right.
that's his
So,
theory anyway.
right.
It's
And
because
there's a
he's so smart.
Charles, and there's a Charles in this universe. Do we know if it's Sir Patrick Stewart's? I don't know. Do we know if it's
When my wife asked
James McAvoy? I don't know. It could be a completely different Charles Xavier, but it still could be Kelsey Grammer's Beast. It
when my
could be
wife asked
anyone.
about Multiverse of Madness Professor X, I was like, yeah, it was Sir Patrick Stewart's one. And she
Right.
was like, oh, okay, well, hopefully he ended better than he ended in Logan. And I was like, nope. Logan is one of like her least favorite Marvel movies she's ever seen. It was heavy, but I also don't like the way they ended Professor X's life in that movie as well.
Yeah, it
I
was
think
sad
it
because
was,
he thought that it was Logan that did it to him
and
too.
he's buried off the side of a fucking highway.
Right. The
One of the
most
greatest
important
men
mutant.
to ever exist.
Right.
And he's buried off of a highway where
Right.
nobody knows he died. It's so I hate that. I hate it so much.
Right. I hope it's a completely different Professor X. I hope
Yeah.
it's a different actor.
I'm fine if it's James McAvoy, but I would love give somebody else the ring. I think Tom Hiddleston, we only have a few minutes left.
Right.
Sum it up for before I go talk about this. The Marvels was incredible, hilarious. Go see it. It's so much better than the original critics were talking about. The critics are currently trying to tear down Marvel for whoever knows for whatever reason, but it's so much better than critics were saying. It's really good. But Tom Hiddleston was talking about the reason why he got cast as Loki, and it's the same reason why Chris Hemsworth got cast instead of like his brother. They wanted lesser known people because they don't want you to have an image of something else or somebody else when you see that character.
Sure.
So like they got Robert Downey Jr. when his career was on a downswing, so people had kind of like forgotten about him. They got Chris Evans while he was still fairly unknown. He was on
Right.
like an upswing. People knew who Liam Hemsworth was, but not Chris really. And like
Right.
nobody, Tom Hiddleston says, like nobody knew who I was at the time. I think you stick with that. Like get a lot of these X-Men. Give these opportunities to people that we don't really know. Like when I saw the Fantastic Four rumor castings, it's like, oh, it's not John Cena, it's not Seth
John
Rogen,
Cena.
it's
Yeah.
not Zac Efron.
Right.
Like they're not going like the biggest name would be Adam Driver,
Yeah.
and I don't think they're going with him.
Right.
So I think that they're gonna stick with go small. Let's do this right. Let's build the stories. They're gonna do the Marvel spotlights with people we don't really know. Even
Right.
like
I
Charlie
think there's
Cox.
some. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, Charlie Cox made his mark because of the Netflix Daredevils.
And
Like,
that's what
right.
they're gonna keep him
So
as.
I think there's some characters much like Kang or Thanos, those big villains. I think you might have to get a
Mm-hmm.
big prolific actor for
Yep.
that. So like someone like
Doom.
Doctor Doom, for instance, you could get Cillian Murphy or Giancarlo Esposito or something like that. One of these kind of big name people because they're going to command such a big role, I guess. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And not just come
Galactus.
right. Yeah, that's just me. I think, but I am 100% for one of these like lesser known people to
So we
play
don't have
these.
much time, but I do want to ask, do you think the mutants that we see from this universe that was brought in at the end in the credit scene, do you think those mutants are going to be the one in the eventual continuous timeline of Marvel movies, or do you think
I
it's going to be
think
separate?
I actually hope that these mutants in whatever universe that Monica is in are our mutants because we've only seen one. We've only seen one. We've only seen Kelsey Grammer's Beast. That's the only one we know so far.
Yep.
So we know there's obviously a Charles Xavier in this world. And so I'm fine if they just recast from there because I thought Kelsey Graham, like I would approach Kelsey Graham. I'm sure they approached Kelsey Graham and was like, hey, you want to come back as Beast? All you have to do is basically walk and talk and we'll just mocap the rest. And they're like, all right. He's like, all right, sure.
Yeah, he's like, that's
So
about all I can do now. So okay.
right, right. I mean, yeah, that's what I would prefer.
Yeah,
Is
I think I would agree.
as far as the Fantastic Four, I don't know because I don't
We'll
want
see
them to
once
be
they
in.
get
I don't want
cast.
them. Yeah, I don't want them to be in the same universe. If that
Yeah,
makes sense.
I
I'd
agree.
rather
I want
them.
all these to be taken elsewhere and brought in.
Yeah, I want it to be three different universes. I want there to be our universe, and then kind of how Kang did it, or He Who Remains did it, where there was one on top and one on bottom. That's how I want it to be. And then I want there to them all just to sandwich together, and all these heroes in Kang Dynasty have to prevent all the universes from exploding together, and rather than just combining together.
Yeah,
Like
and not
that's
being
so
able to be beaten by a bunch of ants. Yeah, so go see the Marvels. It was awesome. They did a great job. It makes me nothing but excited for the future. So
yeah,
that's the good news. Is like this makes you
100%.
excited for future Marvel.
Yeah,
Loki and the Marvels ending the way they did, both being so good. I'm so excited.
yeah, very
We got
excited.
less than a minute to go, so
Yeah,
we
we're
want to
talking
tell
about this.
everybody
Yeah.
you all look great today. Thank you so much. Like, subscribe, follow, share if you enjoyed, and we'll see you all next time.
Yes. GG.
GG.
Excited for Echo.
Oh, so excited.
Don't wanna sleep in, cause I got something to prove. I gotta take what I hate and finally make a move. I think of you and all the shit you don't do. Well, I'ma make hella sure that I don't become you. Have no regrets, yeah, I'm tired of my chest off.